All right, I think we can go ahead and call the meeting to order here. So I'll call the meeting to order for the Halifax Finance Committee meeting at 6 o'clock on the dot. In attendance, we have Michael Bennett, Frank Johnston, John Schmalling, Jim Walters, and myself, Todd Dargy. The first order of business was the acceptance of minutes. So it did circulate the minutes from last meeting, February 6th, as well as the minutes from January 23rd and January 29th. So that will get us caught up
At
for
January 9th? Or was it 29th? I had put
9.
in the agenda January 9th.
Yep, January
Yep.
9th, January 23rd, and then February 6th. So those
Right.
reset, which will get us caught up for calendar year of 2023. So I think you've all had a chance to read through those, right? Somebody want to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
Jim, all those, I'm going to do a roll call vote. Frank,
yes.
John,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
and Frank.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. I did also share with you the minutes, the historical minutes for 2022. So there was a set of those. There was August 15th, September 26th, 10/17, and 11/7, November 7th. So a set of 4 from 2022. Have you all had a chance to review those? Are we in a position to approve those as well? Any
I
comments?
reviewed them.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did too.
Jim, have you had a chance, John?
Yep.
Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the 2022 minutes for August 15th, September 26th, October 17th, and November 7th?
Yeah, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second, I'll second.
Thank you, Frank. Roll call vote, Jim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. All right, so that will get us finally caught up for all of the historical minutes as well. So we're back on track, which leads us to the next bullet, which is on the agenda, which was the discussion for the open secretary. So we did conduct re-interviews in the past sessions for the open secretary position. So we had Holly Mary as a candidate, Gina DeMuzio, and Caitlin Esposito as the 3 candidates. Subsequently, Susan had, Holly had mentioned that she had, some concerns with serving as the secretary just due to maybe not having really the capacity to serve at this very, point in time. She, as you know, just retired from the town of Halifax. So she's very early in those stages. And so she did raise some concerns with her availability and, said that, she wasn't sure that she was really interested in the position anymore. So, so that kind of leaves us down with 2 candidates, Caitlin and Gina, which, all 3 candidates I thought were fantastic. I thought they all could do the job very well and were very well qualified to do the position. So, which we're, very grateful for. So, so between Gina and I guess Caitlin, I guess, as being the 2 candidates for the position, I guess I'll turn it over to you all if anybody has any thoughts on, maybe, select for the position. Personally, I guess when I was looking at trying to decipher who would be, more qualified than the others, I guess it was really, I think a primary consideration was, it should be the experience on, municipal governments and things of that nature. Not to say that, somebody can speak quickly, they certainly can, but just having that knowledge, I think does add some value, which is, truly why I was really, hoping Holly would have stayed in the mix, because as we know, she not only has the experience, but, has the, relationships with the various department heads and things of that nature, which I think would have added a lot of extra value than somebody maybe, outside the town, I guess. But So with that being said, I know, Caitlin does have some experience, so, I think that's something important to consider, but be happy to think about, or, get your opinions, I guess, on what you think. As anything you want to share, I guess, on thoughts.
I think that both candidates, Miss Gina and Miss Caitlin, would suit us fine. What I like a little bit more, similar to what you had just said, was regarding Caitlin's ability from the Abington Housing Authority as an office administrator. That brings some value to municipal government that we're kind of looking for. So somewhat familiar with that. And she also had good availability on our meeting nights to be able to be available via Zoom as well due to her remote working schedule that she had on those nights. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think both candidates were very well suited, but I would lean toward Miss Caitlin.
Okay, thank you, Frank, Jim, Michael, John, any thoughts from you guys, I guess?
I think,
I would go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Oh, that's right. I agree with Frank. Same reason. She's got the municipal background. I thought she would be good. The availability is important. She works from home on Mondays and Wednesdays. That was great. So she's available for our meetings when we're there. That's certainly a plus. Back to you, Jim.
Thanks, Mike. I would, well, just for the group, I would merely echo Frank and Mike's comments.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you, Jim. And John, anything additional to add, I guess, from your perspective, or?
No, I unfortunately missed the interview with Caitlin, but I was able to review both resumes. So yeah, I would with the majority on this one.
Okay, so it seems like, in unanimous thoughts, I guess, here as far as Caitlin being the right candidate, I guess, if you will. So I guess would somebody like to make a motion, I guess, to select her as to move forward with an offer, I guess, on selecting her as the next finance committee secretary.
So moved.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So moved.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Frank. Roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Yes.
and myself is a yes as well. So I guess, Sandy, as far as next steps are concerned, I guess who reaches out, I guess, to her? Is that something I should do, I guess, or Cody, I guess? Or-
Yeah, you can reach out to her.
Okay,
I
Is
sent
there
you
a-
back with your budget information, a sheet that shows you what her starting wage would be.
yeah, I saw that. I guess as
yep.
far as like a offer letter template, I guess, is that something we have, I guess, that we typically use to?
We should do an offer letter. I will, I'll forward you tomorrow an offer letter that we have. I
Okay,
think we have one on the Wage and Personnel website, but if not, I'll make sure you get one.
okay, all right, yeah, great. So yeah, if you can share that with me,
Mhm.
I'll put in the appropriate updates, and then I'll reach out to her with the offer. And then, I'll reach out to Gina, I guess, as well, just to let her know that, we won't be
Mhm.
bored, but, again, definitely the interest, and, definitely a, good candidate also.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so that's that, I guess. Guess we're a little early. Is Jim on the line? Go through the building inspector budget.
Hello,
Hey, Jim.
hello.
Yep, we can hear you. Yep. Okay, great.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. So if you, I guess we can go ahead and get started, I guess, with the budget for your building inspector. If you want to just share, I guess, the updates for this year.
Yeah, sure. Pretty much everything is level funded with respect to the total budget, with built-in, pay raises and so forth. The only additional funds that we are looking for were I believe it was $1,500 or $1,800 for training of new secretaries in the zoning, conservation, and planning department under the regulatory board. As you know, we have no one in there. We're in the process of interviewing and trying to get those positions filled, and we have found that there's a need to get a lot of training done within those departments.
And so you mentioned $1,500, I guess. So is that just kind of break down to five?
I don't have the figure right in front of me. I'm trying to pull it up right now. on my computer.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim, this is Frank, you've got 1,800 on that line item, in your, budget.
Yeah, it was 1,800. Yeah, 600 apiece. Yep.
600 apiece, okay.
And that was just a number that we decided to start with. I mean, there's a lot of municipal programs out there from MMA and, you know, a bunch of other programs that are offered through various agencies throughout the state. So depending on the level that we need of training, we need those people to be in some condition to handle the positions, obviously.
Right. No, understood, I guess. And so that was the
There
only
was,
change?
yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
There was some discussion. I did speak with Sandy about, you know, if that 1,800 wants to be put into under the selectmen's purview under training for municipal employees, you know, that's fine with me as long as we have access to it and, you know, get our people trained the way they need to be.
Yeah, so I guess, Cody, is that something you guys have given much thought to yet? I guess, is there a larger training bucket, I guess, that typically how's that in?
Yeah, we should,
Yeah.
that should go into that account for training. One of my requests this year will be to increase that anyways. You know, just there's a lot of trainings out there. I'm a very big proponent of professional development. So I'd like to see that increased, and then this would really fall under that anyways. You know, if department heads have trainings that they want their staff to go to, they can come to us and we'll make that decision. But, you know, in a case like this, Jim's request would certainly be approved. It's warranted, but it makes sense to kind of keep it centralized under training. And then it allows us greater flexibility. If we don't need it for the regulatory boards, we can end up using it somewhere else, and vice versa. If there's more that's needed for the regulatory boards, we have that flexibility.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I guess, so have we started looking, I guess, across like all the departments and such to see like where maybe some training gaps are and yeah.
Yeah, I'm assessing that. We're assessing that. You know, I'd like to bring in management training for our department heads. And then there's specialized training for individual departments that we're going to look to bring in. But it's really a dialogue I've just begun having with our department heads. You know, they know best, they know what they need best. So I'm going to take their feedback and we'll bring in the appropriate training as needed.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, Frank, did you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to spin back to Jim real quick. Jim, also on that line item on your budgets, you've got an additional $1,950 that you and I discussed for meetings and training as well. Would that need to get moved as well, Jim, then into the general training?
No, I think that should stay within my budget. You know, I have the basically 1, 2, 3, 4 inspectors that we cover their training costs as well as my own. So I think that should stay in there.
Okay. And also, Jim, you and I discussed as well the interim inspectors budget number 2238 as well. Maybe if you could go through that with the team as well, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. So that's That's a cost that we incur because I am just a local inspector at this point, an interim local inspector. I have just recently passed my final test to be certified as a local inspector, which would then bump me up to interim building inspector of buildings, if you will. So because that I did not have that certification, we need to hire an outside inspector of buildings, which we, this previous select board appointed an individual to assist me with certificate of occupancies and yearly inspections that are required. So that $2250 goes to pay his time to do those additional inspections with me. We pay him basically a per diem or a per inspection fee of $50. So that should stay in there until the hearing on February 7th with the Board of Building Commissioners to accept my examinations, to then appoint me as a interim conditional inspector of buildings. So that fee definitely needs to stay in there, that $2250.
All right. Anything else for Jim, I guess, while we have him here? Any other questions for anyone?
No, I think we're good. His notes are pretty self-explanatory on his budget sheets and notes that I've taken, plus what we discussed tonight. So I think we're good to go.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Jim, for joining tonight. Appreciate the time.
Okay, thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks, Jim.
Have a
Appreciate
good
it.
night.
All right, you too. Thank
Yep, thank you. Yeah, bye.
you. All right, I guess Gene, you're up next if you're ready to go.
Hi, yep, I'm ready to go.
So if you want to just give us the updates on any material changes this year for the library budget.
So with my narrative, we had some new people on the finance, so the narrative that I wrote this year, oh, sorry about the phone, but the narrative I wrote this year kind of explains about the Mass Board of Library Commission's certification rules for library to get state aid. So we have to follow all of these rules. We have to be open to all residents, make no charge for library services, minimum number of hours per week, directed personal requirements, materials, lend books, but the big thing about that is your requirement, your minimum appropriation requirement. And that is the average of the previous 3 years plus 2.5%. So my budget is really kind of mandated by the state. My wages, I just figure out according to, Sandy's very great about letting me show me how to do that. And Jim, we had talked about, like, we were wondering where Sandy got those days. And I don't know if you had a chance to talk to Sandy about that, but it's based on not a 7-day work week, but a 5-day work week.
Yeah,
And
no, I figured it out.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. So just I figure out my wages, I figure out my salary, and then I figure out my expenses. And then I put that into the formula, and it comes out with what the town has to appropriate for me in order to get my state aid. Last year, my state aid, it's been going up every year. It's based on a couple of different formulas from the state. But last year I got about $16,000 into my incentive grant. And this year, because I'm certified and because of the formula they use, I'm going to get another, probably $16,000 into my incentive grant. I use my incentive grant. It rolls over every year. I use that to kind of pay for my network fees. I split that in my budget. And then I use it for my movie license, my other sales expenses that I have. If a printer breaks, I use that. I bought blinds with that. So it's anything the library really needs that I don't have in my line item for. So rolls over every year. So that's the important part of actually staying certified. So my budget this year is $344,790, and that meets my requirement of I added, I think, like $7 just Sandy liked me to add one, but I actually added 7. So I am requesting $344,797. And does anybody have any questions on the budget? My expense budget, so you have your wages and you have your salary, and then you have your expense budget. The other part of the Mass Board regulations, if you'll have it that way, is that I have to spend 19% of my total materials budget on materials. I mean, on my total expense budget on materials, books, databases, luckily now ebooks, because I've been spending a lot of money on ebooks. But 19%, a lot of libraries struggle with that budget as the cost of electricity goes up, and the cost of like office supplies. I haven't changed my office supplies in so long, just to kind of keep my expense budget as, it's really just my electric that can fluctuate. And anytime I have like leftover money in office supplies, if it's getting to like April, or even now I start looking at my office supplies, I generally move that over to my electric. But this year I think I'm going to be short anyways. My electric is I've been getting some really big electric bills and been talking to Scott and Sandy about that. I don't think we really know what's going on. I think something about the roof, but you'll have to talk to Scott about that. Because I don't know.
Yeah, because I see the electric is actually down, it looks like, right? From 21 to 22 was 14. Now we're paying
Yes.
12.
So sometimes it's down from like before to now 12,000. We were doing well with the electric. And so I probably put that down because of that. But remember, my bottom line always has to increase. So I can kind of play with these numbers as much
Okay.
as I can.
Yeah.
The only thing that's really fluid in my budget is my office supplies, my electric, my postage, equipment, and I don't even put in for mileage anymore because of all the Zoom meetings that we do now. My dues is 1 membership to the American Library Association. For us, we used to do like the director joined, somebody else joined in the children's, but now we just do children's, and she just does that professional membership. I have an as director actually submitted a membership, and it doesn't really, it was a lot of, I'm not really missing out on a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know what I'm missing out on, but I wouldn't think that it would, I think it's okay to just have Holly have that membership dues. I wouldn't want to spend $600 on, membership dues. The other little kind of flexible thing is my network fees. So anytime I can play around with my budget to either, Sandy and I talk a lot, and we try to make my budget as close to my requirement as I can get. So I play around with that a lot, and my network fees are flexible, because what I put in my budget, whatever's left, I take out of my incentive grant. So Salesda is really good about like trying to keep our fees down, but just to be part of the network, I think last year was close to $15,000. So it's a long story why that is even in the budget. Way back when, probably 4 directors ago, she had the thought that the library should be paying, the network fee should come out of the library budget, which was very different, because before her, the director used to always take the network fees out of our incentive grant. And then once that one year came where she added, $6,000 to your network fees and paid for the whole thing, that $6,000 always has to stay in the budget, because remember, we have to go up. So that's why I actually pay for that, but I try to keep that down too. Always try to get as close to your requirement, because when you're figuring out what's next, your next year's budget, you have to use your TAMI. So you actually have to use what was actually given to you. So you always try and keep your TAMI and your requirement as close as you can. Because remember, if you use your TAMI, that number is just going to make your requirement, next year, it's going to make your requirement even higher.
Right.
So we always try to stay, as close to my requirement as we can. I just get a little nervous with the arithmetic, so I like to add a few dollars there.
Could I just add one thing? Jean's very good with if there is a wage increase, we refigure her wages, and when possible, we lower her expenses by the same amount that her wages have increased. She does have to keep to that 19%, so we make sure that that's there. But she's very good about allowing us to lower her expense accounts when the wage accounts go up. And that helps a lot, so that we're staying as close to that required amount as possible and not going over.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Okay, yeah, any questions for Jean from anyone? Any? No? Okay. All right, yeah, I think we're all set then, Jean. Thank you for the time as well. Appreciate you taking the time to take us through.
Oh, okay, so are you guys not voting on budgets tonight?
No, we're just trying to get an idea of like what's changing, and then we'll go through that process, like when we look at the aggregate sheet, and just
Okay.
approve them that way. So,
Okay,
but I will say nothing's alarming, obviously. So, I would, I think we're all comfortable with approving it. We'll just take that vote at a later time.
okay, so there's one other thing that I think this is a good time to bring up.
Okay, sure.
So this is a little confusing, and it's a little confusing to explain, but so for this year, for my FY23 budget, I figured out what I needed to get in my budget back in August, and then we go to town meeting and that budget is approved. So that was last year. And then June came and everybody for FY '22, all the employees got a raise late. So they got their additional money late. My staff's, that figure for my staff increases that June came out of my regular wages because I was down a person that whole year. So we had money in that line thing, in that line item. What happened was my salary is always, it's just, it just stays the same. So there's never any change in that line item until that June when it came, to add, we added kind of without thinking or whatever. I don't want to say anything negative because it wasn't a negative thing, but we added the money to my salary, which then after the fact changed my bottom line, which then changed my bottom line for FY '23, my requirement. So basically, to make a long story short, for my this fiscal year, I am I'm $240 short to meet my requirement. So I need at some point or tonight to ask the finance committee to put $244. I'm gonna ask for 244 because that's just how I am, into my budget this year to make my requirement so that when I fill out my paperwork in August to see if I met my requirement for FY '23. I actually met my requirement in FY '23. Without this $240, I'm gonna fall short of my weight and I'm gonna have to apply for a waiver, which we don't want to do. So any questions on that? Jim and I kind of covered that a little bit.
I think that should
And
be.
I don't know if you want me to come back to the finance committee to talk about that, or,
I think
but
that
that
should
has
be.
to go in this
agenda.
year's budget.
That should be an agenda item, I think, right?
It should be an agenda item, and it is something that could be done either with a reserve fund transfer, or she could put an article on the special town meeting within the annual town meeting. There's a couple of
Okay.
different ways that we can do it. So we can talk about that next meeting if you want. We can
Okay.
put that on the agenda. If it's totally up to you guys, however you want to do it.
Yeah, let's put it on the agenda for next week, I guess, but I mean, what's the?
Next
easiest-
week's a holiday.
Yeah, the 27th, I guess,
All right.
sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, what's the easiest approach? I guess just the reserve fund transfer, I would imagine, right?
That would be the
Yeah.
easiest.
So maybe that's the way we go. But yeah, let's put it on the agenda and we can talk about it a little more on the 27th, I guess.
Perfect. It might not be. I'm probably, and depending upon how the electric goes, I'm about halfway through my electric budget. So I may be in June coming back and saying, hey, I need money to pay the rest of this electric bill because my electricity is so high. But I will have money in my wages, so we could just transfer it then. Too. So, but that's another piece to this kind of puzzle this year. And it's usually not this confusing.
Okay.
Okay,
yeah,
that's all I got.
all right. Thank you, Jean. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Have
Thank
a good
you.
night. All right, so that took care of the budget discussions for tonight. Next on the agenda was the new revenue suggestions. So I know Caesar had sent out the email tonight to the department heads, just alerting them to the link that's set up. So hopefully we'll start seeing some ideas flow through there, I guess, and then we'll look to tackle them or, divide them up, as needed as they start flowing in, I guess. But one of which was in flight, I guess, Cody, was the revenue fee review, I guess. Did that actually go to the department heads, I guess, and are they starting to take a look at that, I guess, or?
It has not gone out yet. I guess I had some confusion because we had discussed doing it all on one sheet, and then Caesar had said he spoke with you and you guys were sending out this form. So I wasn't sure what exactly you guys were looking for, because
Oh,
last
okay.
time we spoke, I believe we said we were gonna send out one sheet with 2 columns to ultimately say your existing fee structure and then any proposed, changes.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, because it was, I think actually Frank made a suggestion that we look to memorialize this as a, as folks go through that, we actually, formulate a formal document, right, that we then have like on record of like what our fee structure is. Like, seems like that's missing today, which had come up in the past when we discussed this. So that was kind of the basis of maybe like formalizing a sheet, I guess, just to kind of capture that. So
No, I understand. Yeah, I understand that. My misunderstanding was I thought we were doing it all in one document. I was going to send something out to capture the existing fee schedule and then any proposed changes. But my understanding is you had worked with Caesar to develop an online form that was sent out tonight. I just
yeah,
wasn't
it's
sure
kind of,
what you're looking for. I don't want to make department heads have to, do double the work.
yeah, so it's two different things. So the form itself that I worked with on Caesar is just really an intake form. So it's like if somebody has an idea, they just kind of lay it out as far as what it is, what we expect from like a revenue gain, and any like important information that is needed to just communicate basically. And then so that will kind of flow through that online intake form, and then we have a spreadsheet that's in the OneDrive there that will just kind of capture that, and we'll just keep a running list, and we can track status and all that kind of good stuff. So that's like that intake process. Aside from that was the whole, because it actually came up last year. Actually, it was submitted actually by Susan to take a look at that, or she had a suggestion on some particular fees that should be increased that were like below neighboring towns. So that's what kind of started the discussion. So then we thought maybe it makes sense just to look at our fees across the board and look to see which ones are out of line with market standards, if you will, and then make a determination: do we want to raise them? Do we not? For those that we may want to raise, like what's the impact? Like what's the overall revenue, right? So if we could then get, so I think the first step is just getting that level of detail, like what's our current fee, and then doing that maybe 10-town comparison. And I don't know if we need to do all 10 towns, but maybe just get a neighboring comparison to see, okay, most towns are charging, X amount. And then I think step 2 would then be like looking at it from a transactional basis of like, how many, dog licenses are we issuing, like things like that, to try to get like a net revenue increase that we would expect, to result in, from change.
Yeah. Well, I'll get it sent out tomorrow. The
Okay.
department heads are aware of it, though. We've discussed it with them. I mentioned it at our department head meeting, and many of them have already pulled it together. So
Awesome. Okay. Yeah.
the form out.
Okay. Chief, you have a question?
Yep, I just to follow up on what Cody said. We did receive an email from I believe it was Sandy, requested that information, and I submitted my stuff to her. Do I have to redo another form for Caesar, or is that enough?
It should be enough, right, Sandy or Cody? Can we just take his and drop it into the sheet, I guess, or it's just going to be a basic spreadsheet, right, with just a couple columns?
Right, so his was
Yeah.
basically on fees, which we can add to Cody's list. That should be
Okay.
easy enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, so I think you're all set, Chief. But if you have, to the extent that you have like some other ideas, and I know you brought up an idea in the past too, with like the whole auctioning of the vehicles and things like that. So if there's any other thoughts like in that regard, then that's where that intake form would come in. You can submit them through that. So, all right, so that will take care of, that's the new revenue. Actually, any other thoughts, suggestions, or anything on the new revenue process?
I just want to make a comment on that. Each department that has a fee structure that they use for whether it's building or Board of Health or whatever it might be, they have a list of that, and that's what we're going to gather first, is get that listing of existing fees for different types of permits or whatever it may be into a master workbook.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like I said, then once we have that, and then we can look at, which are out of balance, if you will. Right. And then we can say, okay, well, these, maybe there's 50 fees, let's just say, right. And then maybe 5 of them or 10 of them, whatever, it ends up being are like out of sync with neighboring towns, and then we can say, okay, do we want to raise these or not? And then we want to go through the cost benefit of that, of like, okay, what's the transactional cost to see what value that would actually bring to the town? Is it worth changing it? You know, things of that nature. So
If there is a change to those fees, does that have to go before the town at town meeting to get approval of each of those fees, or how does that work, Cody?
It depends on the fee. Some of them are more of a policy that the Board of Selectmen can vote on and change. And some of them would have to go to town meeting.
yeah, so I think, so what our objective will be, Frank, is just like, once that data comes in, we can take a look at it, and then we can make our suggestions, and then, you know, that would go to the Board of Selectmen from there, and then they can make the ultimate determination of what they want to move forward with, and then to Cody's point, some of them we can just implement right away, and then others may have to, you know, go to the town
Okay.
meeting itself. So it'll be kind of a somewhat of a long drawn out process, I get to do, but that's where the starting point is, just that data collection. We can start to see,
Right.
you know, is there any, you know, is there any opportunity here to maybe get some additional fees, you know, in line with the neighboring towns, and bring in a little extra revenue that could, you know, go a long way in helping a lot of the initiatives we're trying to launch
Right.
across town. So,
Right, thank you.
Todd, so
Yes.
last year when I increased my vitals, I just I went to the selectmen and they didn't take a vote for that. And then I just opted to implement it as of July 1st, just to give the residents advance notice that those fees were increasing. Just,
Yeah, and then that's actually, is that the only example, I guess, of the fees that we've increased? Do you know, Cody? I guess that might be something important for the sheet, I guess, right? Once we pull it together, like to know, you know, whether or not we recently changed the fee. Because if that's the case, we want to keep those out of scope, I would imagine, you know?
Yeah, my plan is to have a few columns, you know, existing fee,
Okay.
proposed fee, last time fee was altered, you know,
If known, I guess, right? Yeah, exactly.
But no, I mean, we should really be looking at all of them, and I'd leave it up to the department heads. You know, they're the experts in their field.
Right, yeah.
We'll let them look at it, look at the other communities, and, you know, let them make the recommendation, and then that's something you can deliberate. But, you know, like Sue said, they know best, you know, they know their operations. So we'll let them take a look and make a proposal. In some cases, it may make sense, in others, it may not. But it should really be a reoccurring thing. It should be part of our financial policies.
Right.
That, you know, fees are reviewed annually. They're not going to change annually, but we should at least be reviewing them annually.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and I think this is a, you know, great first step, I guess, in doing that. So.
Mhm.
All right, anything else from anyone on the new revenues? I'm just gonna share my screen quickly for the, so I did share this calendar that I just kind of quickly threw together, just so we can kind of get, obviously this is subject to change, right? But it will give folks on the finance committee, I guess, a good idea of the upcoming sessions that we have. So typically we meet on the first and third Mondays, right? So there is a bit of a challenge on July, just being the 4th of July holiday there. So I did move that to, or I'm proposing, I guess, that we move that to the 2nd and 4th week as of now. So if, you know, just take a look at your, you know, planned vacations or things like that. If, you know, if that's going to be a concern, we can obviously discuss it. But I do need to move something here for the 4th. September 4th is actually going to be Labor Day. So we will need to figure out a game plan there. I think, you know, last year we only had the meeting on the 6th of September, which we actually just voted the minutes on, or the 26th actually it was. So maybe we just do one meeting that month or something.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure that out, I guess. But and we might be able to get away with just, you know, one meeting through these months, because it does get a little bit quieter once we get through the town meeting and stuff. Like, you know, obviously Sandy will have some reserve fund transfers and things of that nature that we'll need to address. But generally we've tried to just meet around like once or so a month during the summer months. So so a few of these will be in flux. But I guess if anybody has any thoughts or ideas on particularly, I guess, how we should tackle September, then I guess we can try to like finalize just a game plan, I guess, on
Yeah, if we can just do the one meeting in September, like you say, you're far enough past the budget season and it's kind of in that low period of time. If we do have to do a reserve transfer or something, we can always talk about that, make sure we have enough people to get together to do that on another night, you know?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
open to something like that.
Okay, yeah, and that's what I was thinking. So maybe unless there's any objections, maybe I'll just throw it on for this week here for the 11th, like right in between when we would typically meet. And just plan for that, I guess, for now. And again, we can always revisit, change it as we go, but you still give us a target, I guess. Yeah. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, works for me.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's plan that. So I'll make the update and then I'll reshare that with you all so you have that to kind of refer to. And hopefully that should be helpful, like I said, when you're planning your vacations and that need. Okay, all right. That's all I had for as it may arise. I guess, was there anything else from anyone from as may arise? I do want to talk about just next week's meetings. Well, sorry, the 27th meeting, but before we get into that, is there anything from anyone you want to bring up?
If I might, Mike, after you print out the minutes that were
Yes.
approved tonight and sign them, if you get them if you can scan them and send them to Cody, Cody will get them up
Yep.
on the website.
Okay, no problem.
I'd do it, but I don't know how.
Not a problem. I'll get them to Cody.
That'd be great.
So the minutes on the website will be all updated now, huh? Yeah,
Finally, yeah. So that was obviously a big challenge, right? And also
Yeah.
Holly actually helped out quite a bit with the historical one. So definitely want to thank her very much for that
Yeah.
assistance. Get us over this this hurdle. So, you know, with the vote tonight, right, we should hopefully have a finance secretary in place very soon. And then hopefully we don't have this happen again. But if and when we do kind of get into this situation with the board and the secretary, I think we'll just have to come up with a, you know, better plan on how to, you know, share the duties or whatever, so we don't, you know, get so behind like we did. But again, hopefully that won't arise again. But.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else that anybody wanted to bring up that wasn't on the agenda? No. Okay. All right. So then I guess just for lastly, I guess if we can just talk about the 27th meeting. So Gene, you'll come back, I guess, to discuss that item. And then Chief Chavez, we did want to see if you were available for the 27th to go through the police budget. I don't know if you've had a chance to touch base with Cheryl yet. I know she's on vacation right now, but we did want to try to slot you in for the 27th of February, 2 weeks from now, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I did speak with Cheryl. We went over the budget.
Oh, you did? Okay.
27th. Yeah, 27th is fine. Yeah, we met before she left Florida.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so we'll pencil you in for, I guess, like around 6:15 or so for 27th.
Sounds good.
And then we'll want to do we talked about doing the fire as well. So Sheldon can confirm he's available to so I can drop him a note in Cheryl's absence, just to get him lined up for that. And then, so, all right, so Gene and then police and fire for the two budgets. And then also Cody, I think we said last meeting, right? You were gonna do the projections for the revenue and expenses, I guess. So document for that. Maybe we just plan, and Sandy, I'll send you the list or whatever for the proposed, but maybe Cody, we have you just go after, you know, police and fire, you know, with their budgets, if that's okay.
Sure.
The updates. And I guess with those projections, I guess you have the marijuana, I guess, fees embedded into that, I guess, and or is there a separate projection that kind of like isolates those, I guess, so we could just see like what we're bringing in, I guess, and or expecting through that business?
Yeah, we have it broken down by line item. You'll see.
Okay,
So that's a separate line item. We can't include the impact fee in our revenue, but we can include the local tax. So you'll see it's all in there.
Okay.
And then if there's any points of clarification that you're looking for, if I don't know, Sandy certainly will. You know, she knows all the ins and outs, so we'll be able to give you a good idea of what you're looking at.
Okay. All right, sounds great. And I guess then post that, I guess, so that would take care of the 27th. of February, so that will be a pretty busy agenda, I guess, for that meeting. And then that will leave us, I guess, with two other key budgets, right, Sandy, which will be the IT budgets and the schools, I guess. So I guess, I don't know if Caesar's still listening or there, or Cody, you know, I guess, but do you think you guys will be in position to present the IT budget on the 6th of March, the first Monday there?
So
Yeah,
Cody would be
I'll-
working with IT. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have all my budgets done by the end of this week, including IT.
Okay. All right, so if we can plan you for the 6th, I guess, to go through that, and then we'll have to just reach out to the schools and see if we can get them in on the 6th as well, I guess.
Right?
Another department that you'll want to talk to would be the town clerk's office. She has some increased demands in her office, and it is causing that office to need extra hours.
Okay, yeah, I've gone through that with Susan, but yeah, I guess Susan, if you wouldn't mind, I guess, too, just giving a quick update to the rest of the committee. That would be good, I guess, as well.
Whatever meeting we can get her in.
Yeah, maybe we squeeze that in. I mean, that would be relatively quick, I think, right? So Susan, would you be okay with doing that, I guess, the 27th?
Yep, that's fine. I can be
Okay.
here then.
So maybe we just start off with you, like around maybe we'll put you down for like 6:10, and then Chief Chavez, we will put you maybe for 6:20 or so, if that's okay to start.
Yeah,
I know
that's
you-
fine.
Okay, I know you're usually on anyway, so, but. Okay, so we'll put you down, Susan, for the 27th, I guess, as well, ahead of the police and fire. And then Jim on the school, so can you just reach out to them, I guess, and see if we can get somebody in on the 6th, March 6th, to go through their budget?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, I can.
Okay, all right, awesome. Thanks. And then I guess then post that, Sandy, right? We'll go through that sheet, I guess, and put in our recommendations and all that. So
Yep.
that'll give us what, about 3 weeks, I guess, to finalize all that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly 3 weeks, I guess, right? So 13th, 20th, and 27th. So that would kind of be crunch time just to kind of get through that hurdle, I guess. So just,
Right.
you know, for Frank and Jim, I guess, to be aware. I know last year some of those meetings were pretty long, so therefore I go.
Yeah, no problem on my end. I got a quick question for Sandy if we're wrapping up on this end.
Yeah,
Sandy,
go ahead, yeah.
regarding parks, I know he was in front of selectmen last meeting. Has he turned anything into you yet, or what?
I have not received a budget from them yet.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Does
I
that,
could, would you like me to reach out to Mike Schley?
Yeah, did
Yeah.
you reach out to him, Frank, or did he come back with
no, I
anything?
haven't. I know
Okay.
that Sandy's been kind of working the scene, behind the scenes on that.
Yeah. If I can't reach him, I'll get you his phone number.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
And I'll also try to find out when their next meeting is, because maybe they can fit you into the next meeting and you can talk to them there. That way
Yeah,
it gets back to all three members.
yeah, I see they held one the night of the selectmen meeting, right before the selectmen meeting.
Right.
Due to that grant or whatever, that 50,000 they had come in their direction.
Yep.
Sandy, they are scheduled to meet on Wednesday night, and the budget is on their agenda.
Sue, this
On
Wednesday night?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Sue.
Let me take a quick peek here at my calendar. Sue, what time were they planning on doing that on Wednesday?
Sorry, I just wanted to double check. 5 p.m.
5 p.m. on Wednesday. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, great. Any other topics for discussion tonight? Do you want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
Second,
roll call vote. John,
Yes.
Jim,
yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Thank you all for joining tonight. I hope you all have a great night.